KISS-COTE is a modified silicon in a special catalysed base which allows the silicon to bond, to actually cross-link with any surface on which it's placed. It goes on in an extremely thin coat, in fact about 2 microns thick, which is 2/1,000,000 of an inch. It's relatively expensive to buy, but once it's been applied to the surface, because it goes on in such a thin coat, it's quite affordable. And it has a huge number of benefits. Its basic operation is to reduce the surface friction on a boat hull or the air friction over an aircraft or a motor car. And it also eliminates the possibility of things sticking to the surface. Now that means, particularly in the case of a moored boat, that it will about double the overall life of a coat of anti-fouling, and that again, that certainly brings economies of operation and of use of KISS-COTE. And it also means that in the case of the top sides of a boat or a motor car or any other article, including things such as bathroom tiles, they become very easy to clean because anything that actually settles on them is very easy to remove. In the case of tiles and of motor cars, it's simply a question of either wiping them or spraying them with a hose, and anything that's on the surface will come off. Now that means that maintenance of these surfaces is greatly facilitated, and it also means that the life of the surfaces is greatly extended. Now during that segment we showed the application of KISS-COTE to the bottom of the hull of our camera boat, and that was done firstly by thoroughly cleaning the fiberglass surface of all contaminants, and that in this case was done with acetone on a rag, but in the case of other surfaces can be done with whatever cleaner may be appropriate. The surface is then brought back to clean and pure by a thorough wash with water. The KISS-COTE is wiped on, and then it is buffed with either a lamb's wool or a terry toweling buff, which causes it to bond to the surface. Now in the case of glass and some other surfaces, the buffing process may not necessarily be practical, and in those cases you simply wipe it on thoroughly and it will stay there. The nice thing about it is the material doesn't dry, so if you do happen to impregnate your application cloth with it, all you have to do is put it in a plastic bag and it will keep indefinitely. So you don't necessarily lose any more than it takes to soak a relatively small piece of rag or application cloth the first time, and then you simply make it a little more moist occasionally as you go through the process of applying the KISS-COTE. Now I said that we would look at the performance of our camera boat with the KISS-COTE on the bottom on the water, and we were able to do that a week or so after we first applied it. Firstly, I found that the boat was much easier to clean. It lives at Runaway Bay Marina on the Gold Coast in a pigeonhole in their storage rack there, and it's launched and retrieved by the forklift. And whilst it's sheltered from the sun and most of the weather, it does get dust and some bird droppings which settle on it. And I found that cleaning it was very easy. It was simply a squirt with a hose and it was clean. And I also found, as far as the driving is concerned, that it certainly altered the overall performance characteristics of the boat. Firstly, the boats seem to come on the plane a lot easier, and that is, I guess, logical. If the friction of the water on the bottom of the boat is relieved, it's going to slide up on top of the water a lot more easily. It didn't lift its nose anywhere as high, and its rate of acceleration was quite measurably greater than without the KISS-COTE. Its top speed came through at about 3 kilometres an hour over its recent top speed, or its top speed before the KISS-COTE went on, and that represents an increase of about 6%. Now, if you extend that, if I drove the boat at full speed, which is about 54 miles an hour, about 88 kilometres an hour all the time, that would represent a fuel saving of about 6%, or it would mean that I could reduce my applied power quite considerably by probably 800 or 900 revs per minute for the same speed. So again, that translates to a fuel saving. If you're going to drive with the throttle to the wall the whole time, it means that you're going to reduce the time it takes for any given passage by around about 6%. So they are real savings, and if you do a lot of Ks in your boat, and I think I mentioned in the original segment the syndrome of somebody who fishes offshore, say 3 or 4 times a week, and goes out to the 24 or 36 fathom line, they're certainly going to reap some real benefits as far as fuel costs are concerned. And also is the fact that if the boat is left in the water, it will get growth on it, but the minute it does more than about 10 or 12 knots, or about 15 or 18 kilometres an hour, the water will simply wash the barnacles and the weed and the growth straight off again, because they have no way of being able to actually cling to the surface. They can only actually settle on the surface. As soon as the water goes past, it washes them off. In the case of round bilge boats, it'd be very easy to use a long-handled broom, perhaps with a bent handle, to clean a boat after it had been in the water for a considerable period of time, and that applies to both anti-fouled and non-anti-fouled moored boats. So the benefits of KISS-COTE are real. The KISS-COTE is available at the moment. It's not properly packaged yet, but for marine and industrial purposes we can certainly supply it quite easily. And if you're interested in implementing these savings, doubling the length of the life of your anti-fouling and all of the other benefits, give us a call and we'll certainly let you try